The National Women's Soccer League expanding to Denver, becoming the 16th team to join the league. It's going to start competing in 2026. And the addition also setting a new record for an expansion fee in women's sports at $110 million. Joining us right now is an exclusive interview. Ariel Investments co-CEO and president Mellody Hobson. Also, Jason Wright, former president of the Washington Commanders, and now managing partner of Project Level. It's a newly launched subsidiary of Ariel Investments focused on women's sports that invested in the Denver franchise. Good morning to both of you. Mellody, I'll start with you in terms of just help us sort of take us back and explain how this all happened, how Jason was brought in, how you decided that this was sort of the next investment horizon for you.
Well, this started about a year ago, and actually much, much longer than that. We've had personal investments in sports for a long time, John Rogers and myself. John is one of the original investors in the Chicago Sky in 2005. I've been investing in sports for the last few years with the Broncos and the White Sox, and saw an opportunity when we looked at the valuations and said, there's something here. So we started talking about women's sports after a friend came to me. A friend came and said, she said, you should look at this. We should look at it together. Ultimately, it didn't work out with us, and she wanted to do it on her own. And then I saw Jason speak at a conference, and I made a beeline for him on the stage. And I said, I need to spend time with you. I knew he was going to be leaving the Commanders, and I thought, this is the person. He's got the perfect kind of operational background to help in this endeavor that we had been working on for quite a while at Ariel. And Jason, it's classic Ariel investing. It's value meeting growth.
Jason, how focused were you prior to meeting Mellody on women's sports? Was that something you had said to yourself, okay, I mean, I know you were at the Commanders. Were you saying to yourself, okay, I got to get into women's sports?
I've got a personal history with it that goes back to the late 90s. My family were original season ticket holders in the WNBA with the Sparks. My dad religiously took us to games. So I grew up watching sports heroes like Lisa Leslie and Penny Toller and Allison Feaster and Tamika Dixon and Haisha Zhang. And that made us an anomaly in the late 90s. Now that is actually more the norm. You know, we estimate that 60% of NWSL fans are men. And I got a great visual the other day looking at one of the Love Volleyball League's inaugural games in Salt Lake City, where there's a line of young men waiting for these great female athletes to come out and do post-game autographs. The appeal of women's sports is to everybody, and it certainly was to me, and that's why I've been interested.
Where are we in the journey or in the curve here? I know, you guys are value investors, so hopefully you're getting in early. At the same time, we talk about now women's sports with great frequency in a way that, clearly we didn't before, with some folks saying that actually prices have gotten, in some cases, even beyond themselves. And there's going to be a period of time where some of these prices you're going to really have to grow into.
They are growing into right now in real time. We're watching this generational shift that is occurring. Every stat is up, every single one. Viewership, fandom, attendance, sponsorship, media rights, social media engagement. Literally, when you look across the board, I think of women's sports as being the small caps, not in talent, but in valuation of sports. Because think about it, the most valuable women's team, Angel City, is worth $250 million. The most valuable men's sports team in the United States, the Dallas Cowboys, is worth $10 billion. That is a big valuation gap. And we're not saying that women's sports today is worth $10 billion, but we do think they're going to grow into much richer valuations than what we're seeing right now. And importantly, women will get their rightful place in the pantheon of sports, right, which we think is a part of the story as well.
Hey, Jason, in terms of which sports, obviously we're talking about here soccer, basketball, you were talking about the WNBA. I think you referenced volleyball. Where do you see the greatest opportunity? Is there places where you say this is definitely going to work? And are there places where you say maybe this isn't going to work?
That's right. The profile of this can range from venture all the way to something that feels more like credit because of the maturity of the different assets, but certainly interested in the teams in the mature leagues that we just talked about. And we expect those valuations to grow. Any of us would take the growth of Angel City, bought for $2 million 4 years ago and sold for $250 million. We'd all take those returns. And we do think they're going to grow, as Mellody said, but it's not just the teams in those mature leagues. It's the emerging leagues in sports like volleyball, lacrosse, softball, flag football. And it's also college sports and the new capital needs that have emerged in college sports. It's youth sports programs. And importantly, I think for us in our thesis is the surrounding ancillary businesses that support those teams and leagues. Everything from professional services to tech support to the real estate and development plays that surround sports venues.